Have you ever experienced a coincidence so perfectly, I mean, almost impossibly timed, that it felt less like random chance and more like well, a direct message from the universe?
Oh, like those moments that just completely stop you in your tracks.
Exactly. You know the exact kind of moment I'm talking about,
Yeah.
where you just stand there and think, okay,
Hmm.
someone or something is very clearly trying to tell me something right now.
Right. Yeah. It shakes you out of your normal routine.
It totally does.
Yeah.
And today we are doing a deep dive into decoding one of those exact moments. We're looking at a document from a man named Mike, who operates under the digital identity MickeySdt.
Mm-hmm.
And he's basically just sitting alone on a shore when this completely untamed wildcat just steps out of the shadows.
Which sounds like a standard nature story at first, but it goes somewhere completely different.
It really does. Because this isn't some, cute animal rescue story.
Mm-hmm.
This event actually becomes the catalyst for a really radical, almost clinical rewriting of how to survive modern human relationships.
Yeah, it's about finding absolute personal sovereignty.
Right. And understanding the psychology of what he calls an older soul. So get ready, because today we are exploring a document that combines wild animals, deep psychology, and believe it or not, 150 BPM industrial techno.
Which is quite the combination.
Right. It's a wide ride.
But what's fascinating here is that it takes that single jarring realization that the boundary between what's going on inside your head and what's happening out in the physical world might not actually be solid, and it maps that onto an entire life philosophy.
Yeah, it's a massive framework.
It really is. It weaves together deep analytical psychology, the actual mechanics of stepping away from transactional relationships, and, like you mentioned, that relentless rhythm of industrial techno.
So we are jumping right into the deep end today.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's unpack this. I think we need to start with the animal on the shore, right? Because everything sort of cascades from that one specific moment.
Yeah, that's ground zero for this whole philosophy.
So Mike is resting. He's sitting quietly in this state of complete, calm detachment. And out of the wild, this cat just appears.
And the text is really specific about the nature of this cat.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
This is not a stray neighborhood pet looking for a handout or some treats. This is a creature operating entirely on raw instinct. It has sharp boundaries and absolute independence.
Right, which is the crucial baseline for the entire psychological analysis that follows.
Yeah.
Because the cat doesn't just walk past him, it walks directly up to him. It actually demands affection, and Mike simply gives it exactly what it asks for.
But nothing more, right?
Exactly. He doesn't try to grab it. He doesn't try to, own it or coerce it to stay. He just waits patiently until the cat decides, entirely on its own terms, to just head back into the wild.
Okay, I have to play the skeptic for just a second here.
Sure, go for it.
Because, I mean, a wildcat walks up to a guy on a beach. Couldn't we just say, hey, the cat smelled someone who wasn't a threat and maybe thought he had a sandwich or something?
That is the logical first thought, yeah.
Right. So why are we assigning this massive psychological weight to it?
Well, it's a fair question, and it's exactly where the source material brings in Carl Jung to explain what's really going on.
The Swiss psychiatrist, right?
Yes, the legendary Swiss psychiatrist. Jung actually spent decades studying these meaningful coincidences. He termed the concept synchronicity.
Synchronicity, right?
And synchronicity is fundamentally different from basic cause and effect.
How so?
Well, cause and effect is, the cat smelled food, so the cat approached. It's a physical transaction.
Got it.
But synchronicity is when an internal psychological state perfectly mirrors an external physical event.
Oh, wow.
And they are connected by profound meaning rather than just standard physical physics or causality.
Okay, so how does that actually work in this specific context? Like, what is the internal state that's mirroring the external event here?
Think of it like two tuning forks across a room from each other.
Okay.
If they are calibrated to the exact same frequency, you can strike one of them and the other will actually begin to vibrate without you ever touching it.
Oh, that's wild. Because they connect through resonance.
Exactly. They connect through pure resonance. Now, in analytical psychology, animals in their untamed state represent pure, uncorrupted nature. They represent the deepest layers of the instinctual unconscious. And wildcat specifically is like the ultimate archetype of absolute autonomy.
Right, because cats just do whatever they want.
Exactly. It answers only to its own nature. It does not bow to external authority or, societal expectations.
Ah, I see. Okay, let's unpack this a bit more. It's almost like a perfect Bluetooth pairing. between human and nature, right?
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the cat's unfiltered baseline radar didn't care about societal status or the digital grid or any of that noise. It just detected a completely calm, matching frequency.
Yes. The text is basically arguing that this wild cat, this symbol of absolute untamed independence, acted as that tuning fork.
Right.
It approached Mike because Mike's internal state had finally achieved that exact same frequency of absolute independence.
So it was like a real-world validation.
Precisely. It served as clinical confirmation. Mike had reached a point where he was completely free from the chaotic, needy noise of what the author calls the human matrix.
The human matrix, right?
Yeah. Jung noted that when an individual undergoes individuation...
Wait, individuation?
Yeah, individuation is the grueling psychological process of stripping away all the false masks of society to find your true, unfiltered essence.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right. And Jung said that when you undergo that process, the universe or the collective unconscious often sends a reflection of that truth back to you.
Wow.
The document actually shares a brilliant Jung quote to illustrate this. He said, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there's any reaction, both are transformed."
I love that quote. So basically, by just sitting there and letting the creature give love and depart naturally, Mike validated his own sovereignty. He didn't have to hunt for validation. His frequency was just naturally aligned.
And that completely rewired his understanding of his place in the world. It proved to him that he didn't need to manipulate a rigged system to find connection.
Right.
Because when you stand firm in your absolute truth, genuine connection just walks right out of the wild to find you.
Which fundamentally changes how you view literally everything that happened before you reach that shore.
Oh, absolutely. It shifts the entire paradigm.
Because if you realize your frequency is perfectly aligned with pure nature, but you spent your whole life clashing with normal society, it forces a massive reevaluation of your past, right?
It does. And that is exactly where the document introduces this concept of the older soul.
Right, the older soul.
Yes, this is the profound realization that your soul, or your core consciousness, is actually older than your temporary physical body.
Okay.
And because of that, the standard rules, the timelines, the expectations of modern society, they simply don't fit you.
So when you operate from that premise that you are an older soul, does your life's primary purpose shift?
Exactly. It shifts from participation in the system to observation of the system.
Observation.
You stop trying to cram yourself into standard societal boxes. The source describes a really radical reframing of Mike's past struggles.
Because the system always tries to tell you that friction is a defect in you.
Right.
Like you're the one who's failing.
Right, exactly. Think about the friction he felt for decades in corporate machines or the transactional nature of normal relationships. Society says you're broken.
But the wildcat proved his alignment was actually flawless.
Yes. He didn't need to change to fit the world. He just needed to remember who he actually was.
And this is where the language of the document gets incredibly unique, I think.
Oh, the terminology is fascinating.
Yeah, because it completely strips away all the emotional victimhood of his past.
Completely.
It says his corporate battles weren't failures. They were, quote, data gathering on systemic infrastructure.
Right.
And his painful personal shipwrecks were, quote, raw telemetry on human behavior under pressure.
That phrasing is so highly intentional. Raw telemetry.
Raw telemetry, yeah.
He essentially transitions from being a victim trapped inside a storm to becoming a clinical forensic analyst who is standing safely on the shore, just watching the storm from the outside. Every scar, every betrayal, every single friction point ceases to be a personal tragedy. It just becomes a highly valuable data point.
Okay. I have to push back hard on this, though.
Sure, go ahead.
Because calling your deepest personal shipwrecks raw telemetry, I mean, doesn't that sound like a massive defense mechanism?
It definitely can sound like that, yeah.
Like if someone gets their heart broken repeatedly or fails in a corporate system, and then they retreat to a beach to say, well, I didn't care anyway, it was just an experiment, I'm just gathering data.
Right.
How do we know he's actually sovereign? Is he really enlightened? Or is he just hiding from a world that hurt him?
That is the exact friction point most people would hit when reading this.
Yeah, because it risks sounding completely detached and frankly just cold to the human experience.
Yeah. But we have to look really closely at the mechanics he is describing here. The text makes a very clear distinction.
Okay, what is it?
This isn't about becoming a sociopath or lacking the capacity to feel emotion. It's actually about absolute, energy conservation.
Energy conservation.
Yes. If we connect this to the bigger picture, for an older soul, trying to force an advanced, timeless consciousness into cheap, temporary containers.
Which is how it describes standard relationships, right?
Exactly. Standard modern relationship dynamics. Doing that is structurally damaging to the older soul.
Oh, I see. So it's not a defense mechanism against feeling. It's a defense mechanism against wasting energy.
Precisely. Think of it like a high-voltage appliance.
Okay.
If you try to plug a massive industrial machine into a standard residential wall outlet, what happens? It's going to blow the fuse every single time.
Right, the wiring just can't handle it.
And after a while of blowing fuses, you might start to think the machine itself is broken.
Oh.
But what Mike realized is that the machine is functioning perfectly. The infrastructure he was plugging into was just totally incompatible.
That analogy clarifies it beautifully.
Yeah, the friction wasn't because he was unlovable or defective. It occurred because he was operating on a completely different blueprint than the average person.
So becoming a forensic observer isn't about hiding away.
No, it's about acknowledging that structural mismatch and just refusing to blow the fuse ever again.
If you are that high-voltage machine,
Yeah.
you can finally take the emotional weight off your shoulders.
Yeah.
You stop blaming yourself for the blown fuses.
Exactly.
And if we follow that logic, it entirely dictates what happens next.
Right.
Because if you realize the outlet is fundamentally incompatible, you just stop trying to plug into it.
You do.
Which brings us to Mike's specific conclusions about modern relationships. The document contrasts what it calls the common blueprint with the sovereign standard.
Right. The common blueprint is what the vast majority of society runs on right now.
And what does that look like?
Well, the source asserts that modern relationship dynamics are anchored almost entirely in the temporary physical matrix.
So superficial things.
Exactly. They are built on status, ego validation, mutual distraction, and just a general fear of being alone.
People are essentially seeking relationships to fill an internal void.
Yeah.
They're just trailing after validation.
Yes. But the sovereign standard, which Mike is operating on, requires absolute, unyielding truth.
Because he is anchored and complete on his own.
Just like that wildcat. And because he's complete, his barrier to entry becomes radically higher. If a connection doesn't respect his absolute sovereignty, it isn't just an annoyance anymore. It becomes an actual systemic drain on his core code.
Which leads to one of the most polarizing and, frankly, fascinating conclusions in the whole document.
It really is.
As we analyze this psychological framework, we see he reaches a point where he realizes he has essentially done his duty with women.
Right. He views the contract as fulfilled.
The ledger is entirely clear.
He stepped into the arena, he played by the rules of the physical world, he navigated those complex emotional structures, collected every single necessary data point, and now
Now he is free without them.
Exactly.
He is closing the courtroom.
Yes.
That's the phrase he uses, and it is just so evocative. The courtroom is permanently adjourned.
It's a powerful metaphor.
It is. He is leaving behind what the text calls toxic audits. And for you listening right now, think about how often you deal with toxic audits in your own life.
Oh, they are everywhere.
Right. It's when a friend or a partner or a boss demands you explain yourself and you suddenly find yourself auditing your entire week.
Defending your actions.
Exactly.
Wow.
Desperately trying to justify your own perfectly reasonable boundaries to someone who really just wants to drain your energy.
Yeah.
And Mike is saying, I simply refuse to perform the audit anymore.
That is the perfect real-world application of this.
Yep.
He is leaving behind the late-night text dumps that he has to dissect.
Ugh, the worst.
The hyperfixations on material trivialities and just the sheer exhaustion of defending his integrity against shallow metrics. And it is vital to note, from an analytical perspective, the text explicitly frames this not as a retreat born out of bitterness.
Right. It's not anger.
It's a highly calculated protective measure.
Yeah.
He is building what he calls a fortress on the shore.
And the entry requirements for this fortress are impossibly high now.
Which results in zero noise.
Here's where it gets really interesting, practically speaking.
Yeah.
He's essentially revoking the access permissions to his emotional core.
Oh, I like that.
It's like realizing a software program is completely incompatible with your operating system, right? Instead of constantly downloading patches, instead of troubleshooting the errors and wondering why your phone keeps freezing every day, you just delete the app.
You just remove it completely.
Yeah, you stop trying to run it, and suddenly, magically, your computer stops crashing.
And the beauty of that choice, the clinical neutrality it provides, is total immunity.
Total immunity.
Yeah. When you view human interactions as telemetry, as we discussed earlier, external hostility completely loses its sting.
Because it's not personal anymore.
Exactly. If someone tries to weaponize receipts against you or use emotional manipulation or throw a tantrum because you won't participate in their drama,
Right.
it starts being a personal attack. It just becomes more raw data to analyze from the safety of the shore.
You could just look at it and say, well, fascinating behavioral response, rather than, why are they hurting me?
Exactly. No one can hurt him again because he is simply no longer participating in the game.
He has opted out of the matrix entirely.
He has.
But, and this is a big but, if you completely shut down all these emotional programs, if you delete all the apps that were draining your battery in the background, there is suddenly a massive vacuum of time and processing power.
A huge amount of freed up space.
Right. So what fills that void once all the noise finally stops? Where does all that energy go?
The source calls this exact phenomenon total bandwidth reclamation.
Total bandwidth reclamation.
Yes. Every single ounce of intellectual and emotional energy that was previously drained by systemic friction, toxic audits, and mismatched relationships, it is now 100% his.
Wow.
He owns all of his bandwidth again,
Right.
and he channels that reclaimed power into what he calls the grand architecture of the MickeySdt identity.
And this sanctuary he builds with that energy, it's where the document takes a wildly unexpected turn.
It really does.
Because he isn't using this bandwidth to just sit on the beach and meditate all day.
No, not at all.
He is funneling this massive energy into a multilingual digital sanctuary where he is synthesizing subjects that seem honestly completely unrelated at first glance.
Right.
He's mapping out macroeconomics. He's analyzing deep human psychology, sports law. I mean, why these specific topics?
That's a curious mix.
Yeah, how does macroeconomics connect to the philosophy of a wildcat?
Well, if you look at the underlying mechanics of those fields, it actually makes perfect sense.
Okay, explain that.
Macroeconomics, systemic human psychology, the rigid structures of sports law, these are all giant, complex systems of human rules.
Right.
They are macro structures that are fundamentally designed to trap, exchange, and often drain human energy.
I see where this is going.
Right. Mike used to be trapped in these systems on a micro-personal level.
With the toxic audits and bad relationships.
Exactly. But now that he has achieved absolute personal sovereignty, he is applying his clinical forensic analysis to the macro level.
Oh, wow.
He is studying the mechanics of the trap itself. He's mapping out the matrix, but he's doing it safely from the outside now.
He has become the guide who went into the trenches, observed exactly how the system tries to trap the human spirit, survived it, and returned to the shore to show others how to reclaim their own core essence.
That's exactly it.
It's brilliant. But there is one final glaring contrast we have to address here.
Okay, what is it?
He is driving all of this macro analysis, all of this sovereign peace, with the mechanical, uncompromising rhythms of 150 BPM industrial techno.
Yes, the techno aspect.
Like, how does the relentless, aggressive sound of industrial techno actually connect to a philosophy about finding quiet, peaceful detachment on an unshakable shore?
It seems like a contradiction,
It
right?
totally does.
But this raises an important question about how we express our ultimate freedom. If you analyze the nature of 150 BPM industrial techno, it perfectly mirrors his entire philosophy.
Really? How so?
Think about the rhythms. They are entirely mechanical, precise, and completely uncompromising.
Okay.
They do not bend to emotional whims. They do not feature dramatic, needy vocals begging for your attention, and they certainly don't cater to superficial pop trends.
Oh, wow. So it's a closed-loop system.
Exactly. The techno represents his unshackled architecture.
Mm-hmm.
It is the sonic embodiment of that clinical forensic detachment we've been talking about. It is the flawless, unapologetic functioning of his recloud core code.
So the music isn't chaos at all.
Not at all.
It's actually the sound of the machine running perfectly, free of all the toxic audits and system errors.
Yeah.
It's the pulse of absolute self-containment. It's the sound of an engine operating at maximum efficiency because every single systemic drain has been removed.
Exactly. He went through the fire, he paid the toll, and he walked out entirely intact. The grid is working, his alignment is flawless, and the shore is completely his.
Which brings us full circle, right back to the ultimate lesson of the wildcat.
It really does.
You do not hunt for validation. You do not participate in superficial transactional games, and you don't wear false masks just to earn affection or attention from a system that is inherently rigged against you.
Right. You establish your boundaries, you protect your core code, and you let the world come to you on the shore.
Because any genuine connection has to arrive naturally, on its own terms, respecting your absolute autonomy, just like the cat did, is a complete paradigm shift. Instead of treating life as a desperate series of battles to be won or a series of relationships to be secured at the cost of your own energy,
You treat it as a grand design for observation.
right, you realize you are a timeless observer, entirely complete within yourself.
We've explored an incredibly radical framework today. I mean, from a simple encounter in nature acting as a profound Jungian synchronicity to the realization of being an older soul.
Yeah.
We've seen the psychological power of recontextualizing past trauma, not as a personal failure, but as highly valuable telemetry.
And we analyze the logic of refusing to participate in the toxic audits of modern transactional relationships and the incredible power of reclaiming 100% of your emotional and intellectual bandwidth.
It's powerful stuff.
It is. And for you listening, while Mac-specific sanctuary involves macroeconomics and industrial techno, the fundamental blueprint applies directly to your life too.
The architecture of personal sovereignty really is universal. Every person has the capacity to stop auditioning for a rigged system. You have the right to protect your energy, to recognize when an outlet is incompatible with your wiring, and to establish a barrier to entry that honors your true worth.
You can just, stop trying to run the incompatible software. You can simply stand on the shore.
Exactly.
So I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over today. As you navigate your own complex grid, think about the biggest, most draining, recurring friction in your own life right now. The relationship, the job, or the obligation that demands constant troubleshooting and exhausting emotional audits.
We all have one.
We do. What if the solution isn't trying harder to fix it or twisting yourself into knots to make it work?
Right.
What if your contract with it is actually already fulfilled? What if the courtroom is already empty and you have the absolute right to just declare it adjourned and walk away?